Hello, fellow watchers. This is one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello there, fellow watchers. This is one of your other hosts, John, and welcome to our Irish pub for our Watchmen pub quiz.
Yes, we've taken a trip down to our local pub to put out our full pub quiz questions for this season of Watchmen. We've been doing one pub quiz question in every one of our feedback episodes, but we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to actually win our Watchmen-related prize. So we're going to put out all 8 of the questions so far in this episode, our Watchmen pub quiz. And all you need to do is answer each of the questions and email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with all of these answers. And if you want to, you can wait for the final episode where John will ask one final question on episode 9 to give an extra chance to add to your points score. And then we'll choose the winner of our Watchmen-related prize.
Yes, I think this Guinness is going down a treat here, and we're glad you can join us, fellow watchers. I hope you have your own favourite tipple as well. I think, and here comes my gin and tonic chaser.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, while you have a little nip on your gin and tonic there, John, do you want to ask the first question, our first question about episode 1 of the HBO series Watchmen?
Yes, this requires actually viewing episode 1 and episode 2. But the question is, name the aerial vehicle that makes an appearance in the first 2 episodes of the HBO Watchmen series.
Yes, a little confusion from some people on that original question when it came out, but once you've seen episode 1 and episode 2, you'll understand there's only one aerial vehicle that makes an appearance.
Indeed, and in fact, I think in episode 4 and episode 5, we get a bit more context on this question as well. Because there were maybe 3 choices you could have made, but certainly I think by episode 5, one of those choices is removed from the table. In fact, the bar, should I say.
Exactly. With question 1 asked, question 2, episode 2 of the series.
Yes, question 2. What distinguishing item is on the robes deep in the closet at Judd Crawford's home in episode 2 of the HBO Watchmen series?
I thought you were going to ask the questions with that in.
That is true. I will stop doing that now from now on, because otherwise it will be in episode 3 of the HBO Watchmen series, episode 4 of the blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
So yes, I think we all know it's the HBO Watchmen series. I suppose that is one of the other crucial factors here. It's not about the comics, and it's not about the film.
And you don't have to have any prior knowledge about anything other than the episodes that you've seen on screen.
Exactly.
With that said, on to episode 3. She was killed by space junk. What's the question that you have for this episode, John?
What does Agent Blake carry in the metal case that we see in episode 3?
I have seen so many memes, so many photographs of what's inside that case since that episode aired. You know what's inside it, but we want everything that's inside that case. The more you give us, the more likely you have to get the answer right.
Yes. I will split the points for this down into thirds.
Ooh, interesting.
A little clue.
Interesting. Okay, let's head on to episode 4. If you don't like my story, write your own. What question did you write for that one, John?
Question 4 was, how much did Mr. and Mrs. Clark get paid by Lady True at their farm?
Yeah, definitely. Give us as much information on that one as well, if you can. Over halfway through the series now, so episode 5, A Little Fear of Lightning. What was your question for that episode, John?
Yes, I think this stumped certainly you and Chris. The episode 5 question was, what vegetable helped Looking Glass track down the 7th Cavalry in this episode?
It didn't so much stump us. It was a reasonably straightforward question, and it's been going throughout the series, let's say.
Yes. Let's just give you a hint here. It is a leafy brassica.
You always complain about my hints being too obvious. That might have been a little too obvious, but that's okay. We want people to get as much opportunity to answer these questions as possible. Let's get on to episode 6. Now, this one was a bit more complex, wasn't it?
Yes.
This was the big flashback episode back to the 40s, This Extraordinary Being, wasn't it?
Yes, and certainly this question required a good set of eyes and probably a pause on the remote at the right time to get the answer to this question.
Yes, it did.
But the question for episode 6 was, what is the name of the Jewish family who owned the delicatessen that was set ablaze by Fred, who owned the grocery store FT and Sons in this episode?
Yes, Fred from FT and Sons in Manhattan. Interesting call out there.
Exactly. I suppose the clue here is it is not FT and Sons.
Certainly isn't. No. Let's get on to episode 7, an almost religious awe. Lots of time spent in Vietnam here. What's your question for this one?
Yes. Question 7 had a bonus point as well. But the question reads, in Vietnam before the explosion on VVN Day, how many marionettes were being operated at the puppet show? The bonus points are if you can split the total number of marionettes by the different characters that they represent.
Okay, so that's 2 points for our episode 7 question and 3 points for our episode 3 question. Let's get all the points together when we get to the end of these questions. Only one more that we have available right now, our episode 8 question for last week's episode, A God Walks Into a Bar.
What does Dr. Manhattan bring to the table the first time he meets Angela Abar in the bar in Saigon?
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty appropriate question for this particular time, isn't it? Yeah.
Ooh. This Guinness is going down nicely.
So's my drink. Now, as we said, we haven't got our preview episode for episode 9, and the episode hasn't aired yet as we're recording this podcast. So make sure you subscribe to tvpodcastindustries.com, find our next episode, our episode 9 podcast, and right at the start of it, John will ask our 9th question, which will give you another opportunity to add some extra points to your pot, effectively. So overall, how many points can people score if they get every question right that we've asked?
So you have the opportunity for 10 points from the 9 questions because you get the bonus point for question 7 if you can split up the characters there as well.
Okay.
The marionette characters, I should say. So it may require a little rewatch of the episodes just so that, you know, hopefully there's not much leeway in the answers. I think they're fairly obvious. So remember, read the questions carefully, maybe in some cases as well. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put up the questions over on our Facebook group as well at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. We'll hide them behind a spoiler zone because we know some people haven't called up on all of the episodes, but we'll put them in there along with this podcast as well. And we'll also put them up on our Patreon group. If you want to support us, you can go over to our Patreon group at patreon.com/TV Podcast Industries. And you can support us over there and you'll be able to see this post in there as well.
Absolutely. And remember, all the answers should come into feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com. Even on the Facebook group, please do not provide the answers in the reply, but you can certainly ask any points of clarification, and I will try and help you out as best I can without giving away the answer for our prize.
And one final thing, we will be giving away the prize on our final feedback podcast, which we will be recording on Wednesday, the 18th of December. So your answers all need to be into us. As many answers as you can get out of this list of 8 questions, or the 9th one if you want to wait for that. They all have to be into us before lunchtime on the 18th of December.
Yes, exactly. So please get those answers rolling into us for the prize. And we have not mentioned the prize so far, but what I can say is it is 3 Watchmen goodies that we'll run through now. We have a tote bag and t-shirt, which was an exclusive at the London Comic-Con. And we have a Watchmen companion by Dave Gibbons as well.
Yes, a book which he wrote about 10 years ago, all about his experience working on Watchmen, which I think is going to be really interesting for anybody who's watched the show and seen how in depth they go with their knowledge of the comic books and wants to know a little bit more as well. The tote bag and t-shirt were available at London Comic Con from Sky Atlantic, who are our local providers of the show, basically. So you'll get that. It's an XL t-shirt, so that's available. It's the only one that was available at the show. So the person who answers the most questions correct will get those goodies.
Absolutely. So fire away, fellow watchers, and maybe a little bit of your favorite tipple will lubricate the mind to answer some of these questions, if not all of them, hopefully.
Yeah, well, if you're going to watch all 8 episodes back to back to back to back to back, you might need a little bit of alcohol to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us for our pub quiz.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this pub quiz extravaganza. And the best of luck to all fellow watchers.
Mm-hmm. It's really exciting to be getting towards the end, isn't it?
Absolutely. So looking forward to episode 9.
Cheers, everyone, and best of luck in the pub quiz.
Absolutely. Cheers, everyone, or as we say in Ireland, sláinte.
Bye.
Bye.